Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and this time we're looking at the Yamashin White No. 1 Santoku 165mm knife. So this line of knives has a core steel of Shitogami or white paper No. 1 Hitachi reactive carbon steel. The heat treat's not specified, but it should be around 60, 61 Rockwell or so. The construction is a reactive iron, soft iron cladding over the top of that core steel for a 3-layer sandwich. And then the sides of the blade are treated in what's known as a kudauchi or blacksmith finish. And then they actually put a food-safe lacquer finish over the entire blade on both sides as well for extra corrosion protection out of the factory. What that does mean is the edge does have some lacquer on it typically out of the box. So these do pretty much require or benefit from an out-of-the-box sharpening to get that lacquer off there if nothing else. So the edge does need a light cleanup, unless you want to do a full sharpening, which doesn't hurt either. The weight is very light at 4.4 ounces, 124 grams, and these will vary a little bit from knife to knife since they're handmade. The edge length on this one is a 172, about 6.8 inches from tip to chin, and the overall length about 12.3 inches on the entire knife. The spine thickness, these are fairly hammered fairly thin, is about 2.8 millimeters, and then it thins out quite a bit pretty quickly, about halfway down the blade, and then pretty much maintains that thickness until you hit the grind of the knife. So not a lot of traditional distal taper, but they do taper off a little bit towards the tip. You've got a pretty stout blade towards the rear, and then a little bit of flex towards the tip, but they're still pretty stiff overall. Blade height is about 46 millimeters on this particular one. That'll vary a little bit again. And the handle, they've been upgrading the handles on these, so it does make a difference in the aesthetic and kind of the overall feel of the knife. It's octagonal walnut with a black packawood ferrule. Pretty nice fit and finish on the handle. This one's about 3 inches in circumference where the packawood meets the walnut. And we'll get a close-up look at the blade in general. These are really a lot of value for entry-level, low-cost knife. They do have a fair amount of gap there in the handle installed that you might see on these, so you'll want to put some maybe beeswax or epoxy or whatever you prefer to seal that tang up so you don't get moisture in there and start corrosion. These have an embossed kanji on the right side of the blade, and the left side is plain, but you can see the kudauchi finish, you can see the frost on the grind, and then you can see the core steel showing through at the edge. Again, they do have a lacquer finish over the top of that. You can either let the lacquer wear off naturally and let the blade start patina underneath of that where it wears off, or you can use some acetone or a variety of things to remove that lacquer if you want to do that right off the bat. But again, you'll probably want to sharpen these right out of the box. They've actually got a little bit of relief to the spine and the choil. It's not, I mean, these are pretty rough. I shouldn't say rough, but they're pretty rustic. But they did take and file that down and give you a little bit of bevel relief on that. So they're pretty comfortable right out of the box. Out of the box edge is a little hard to tell. I'll give it maybe a 3, 4 out of 10 because the lacquer covers up the edge. So, but they're ground actually fairly reasonably well out of the box as far as the edge goes. Let's see, balance point. These handles are slightly heavier than the previous ones, but the balance point is right about there, slightly behind a pinch grip for me. Let's take a look at the profile. If you're looking for something lower cost to get into sharpening and such, a Santoku or a Nakiri are good options because they've got a little flatter blade profile and they're also not as long. Again, good choice to learn to sharpen. A lot of people buy these to learn to sharpen, and they also get a nice knife in the process. So here's what the edge profile looks like. It's kind of a curve throughout, not a real flat spot, a little bit of back belly towards the chin of the blade, and then a fairly low grind towards the tip. You don't see a lot, which makes it easy to sharpen, but I don't get real high. I'm starting to dig the tip in about right there, so this isn't going to rock real high. Again, every blade's going to be slightly different, but kind of a classic Santoku shape. Light, nimble, really pretty nice knife for the money. These are pretty cool little knives. So, and Shitogami No. 1 is stupidly easy to sharpen. So it's a great confidence builder if you're learning to sharpen to work with a really easy to sharpen steel like Shitogami No. 1. So there you have the Yamashin White No. 1 Santoku 165mm knife.